Too many people assume financial success comes from earning more money, a higher salary, a promotion, a better opportunity. If income increases, stability should naturally follow. But something quietly surprising happens in the real world. Many people earn good incomes for decades, yet never feel structurally secure. So this raises an interesting question. What if the problem is not effort? What if the problem is that most people never build the financial architecture that wealth actually requires? To understand this, we need to look at financial life differently. Most people treat money as a series of monthly events. Income arrives. Bills are paid. Expenses are managed. The cycle repeats. But wealth rarely forms inside a cycle like this. Wealth forms inside systems. And systems require architecture. Now here is the part most people miss. Architecture is rarely visible in the beginning. When you see a building, you notice the top floors, the glass, the design, the appearance. But those visible layers only exist because something deeper supports them. Foundations, structural beams, load-bearing systems. Financial life works in a similar way. Many people focus immediately on the visible layers. Investments, returns, property. But these sit near the top of financial architecture. Without the lower layers, the entire structure remains fragile. And this is where things become structurally different. Because the architecture most people never build begins much lower. Consider a simple example. Imagine two professionals who earn the same income. Both earn £100,000 per year. Both live in the same city. Both work demanding jobs. From the outside, their financial lives appear very similar. But their structures are completely different. The first person lives in a system built almost entirely around income. Salary arrives. Expenses follow. Mortgage. Car payments. Subscriptions. Lifestyle commitments. If income continues, the system functions. If income stops, pressure appears immediately. Now consider the second person. They earn the same salary, but they gradually build structure beneath their financial life. Their lifestyle grows carefully. Margin exists. Savings accumulate. Liquidity forms. Investments appear slowly. From the outside, the difference between these two lives is almost invisible at first. But something interesting happens over time. One financial system becomes fragile. The other becomes resilient. Now here is the part most people rarely consider. Financial architecture is not a single decision. It is a sequence. Each layer supports the next. Without the early layers, the later ones struggle to survive. And this is where many people unintentionally skip steps. Pause for a moment. If your income stopped for 3 months, what would change first? Housing? Lifestyle? Investments? Or nothing at all? Your answer often reveals the strength of your financial architecture. But there is another layer to this idea that is worth understanding. Financial architecture begins with something simple. Margin. Margin is the space between what you earn and what your life requires. Without margin, every pound already has a destination. Savings struggle to form. Liquidity disappears. Investments become stressful. But when margin exists, something interesting happens. Capital begins to accumulate. Now here is where things become structurally different. Margin quietly creates the next layer. Liquidity. Liquidity is simply accessible money. Cash reserves. Emergency funds. Capital that can be used quickly. Liquidity does something powerful. It removes urgency from financial decisions. When liquidity exists, people think more clearly. They negotiate better. They invest more patiently. But something even more interesting happens next. Once liquidity exists, the next layer becomes possible. Assets. Assets behave differently from income. Income requires constant effort. Assets can generate value without your time. Investments. Business equity. Property. Intellectual property. These mechanisms convert capital into future income. But without margin and liquidity, asset building becomes fragile. Because financial pressure interrupts the process. Now here is where architecture begins to transform financial life. Once assets exist, income becomes less central. Financial life no longer depends entirely on salary. Multiple flows of value begin to appear. Salary, investment income, business profits, capital growth. The structure becomes diversified, and diversification reduces fragility. But there is one final layer that many people overlook. Optionality. Optionality means having choices, the ability to change direction, to step back, to start something new, to negotiate differently, to pursue meaningful work rather than purely necessary work. Optionality is often the quiet outcome of strong financial architecture. Pause again for a moment. If you wanted to change direction in your career tomorrow, could you? Or would financial obligations make that impossible? Your answer often reflects not income, but architecture. Now here is a subtle observation. Many people spend decades trying to increase income, which can certainly help. But very few people spend time designing the system surrounding that income. And the system often determines the long-term outcome more than the income itself. But something interesting happens once you begin seeing financial life structurally. Decisions change. Lifestyle expansion becomes more thoughtful. Margin becomes intentional. Liquidity becomes protective. Investments become calmer. And slowly, the architecture begins to strengthen. Over time, this architecture produces something powerful. Financial stability. Not perfect security, but resilience. The ability to absorb shocks. To wait patiently. To allow compounding to work quietly over time. If this way of thinking about money resonates with you, you may find this channel useful. Here we explore financial structure, behavioral finance, and the deeper architecture that supports long-term wealth. Not speculation, not hype, just calm thinking about how financial systems actually work. If you know someone who earns well but still feels financially fragile, you might consider sharing this video with them. Sometimes the most valuable financial insight is not about investments. It is about structure. And if you would like to explore these ideas further, subscribing helps this channel reach more thoughtful viewers. A simple like also quietly signals that reflective conversations about money still matter. Because in the end, wealth is rarely built through income alone. It is built through architecture. And the financial architecture most people never build is the one that quietly changes everything.